So this was Drew taking black and David taking white.
Yep.
So all looks okay so far, no big mistakes. Maybe you can argue that D17 is slightly questionable direction just because you have a stone at white D4 and these black stones at Q17 and R15, excuse me, are not exactly where you'd want to put your strength in. So
The reason I played the other way, and it was more of I knew reasons not to play this way because it looked like black would get Sente and be able to play on the left side.
well, it's a symmetrical shape though, right? So black could get Sente either way.
Yep, but yeah, but it looked like it would spoil my shape. But okay, because of the white stone, that made more sense.
Again, it's partially because of the white stone at D4, but it's also because this side for white is not that interesting.
Okay.
Because again, these two stones are quite strong.
So this is a case where neither direction is wonderful, but facing down is better.
Yeah, neither direction it's going to put you too hard one way or the other, but it's more just this side is uninteresting, therefore I want to play this side.
Very good.
I've never really seen this cut before. Maybe this is a new modern variation that you know about, David, but typically you'll see the double hane.
I actually was studying that, which in a case when the ladder is good, I misplayed it, but it's
okay.
That was a move that in the Internet Go school, I believe, was one of the 4 responses.
I assume it's something like this.
I'll have to go back and study it again. Yes.
Something along these lines.
Yeah.
If the ladder works, but unfortunately the ladder works for black, so this would be a good result for black.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's unfortunately a pretty forced sequence.
Yeah.
I mean, white could play here, I guess, too, but I think this would still be a good result for white, or for black, excuse me.
Okay.
Oop, maybe not. I'm not sure. It's complicated, but let's see. White extends here. Black will change. I think this is slightly profitable for black because there's a lot of Aji that's left over here. But in the game, it looks like black played a very simple variation, which allowed white to get a really nice strong position on the outside. White should probably just connect solidly at D15. The reason why you don't necessarily want to play here is there's a peep here and a peep here.
Yeah.
Whereas if you play here directly and black does that same peep, you have one less stone at D14. And so your stones are a little bit more efficient. You get an extra eye space or so. Black played here. Yep. Played here. Okay. Yeah, I mean, again, not a huge mistake. I will say, corners are bigger than sides, so I'd probably be inclined to play either here or here as opposed to a side move over here, but not that big a deal. Similarly, after black plays here, I'd be inclined to just play a corner move instead of a side move. But again, not a huge mistake. It just kind of makes it so that this stone is a little bit awkwardly placed. So I actually kind of like this variation for black. I think black stones are all being used pretty effectively, whereas it's going to be really hard for white to use its strength here to get that much territory. So if this was the variation, black has huge framework over here, small framework over here, small framework over here, small framework over here. So this is maybe 8, another 10, another 10. So we're looking at maybe 30, 40, 50, 55, 60-ish points for black, give or take. Whereas white's only territory is this area here. this area here, and this area here. This is maybe 10, this is maybe 15, this is maybe 20. So white would be down by about 10, I think. And it kind of stems from a little bit of weak. So yeah, black's doing quite well here. It's hard to say that this is a bad move per se, because it reduces the framework of this black group. But I think, you know, you could also consider maybe this is it's tough to evaluate this position. I might be inclined to invade, honestly, because if you play here, black's going to kick and expand this framework, right? And this is not good use of your strength. If you play here and black just plays here, you haven't gained all that much because there's still so much open space, and black solidified this weakness here. So I think now would be the time to try to invade. If black tries to kick, maybe something like this would be okay. And playing lightly to just kind of break apart this framework that black's built up. And it hasn't really hurt your strength or your territory over here or your territory over here, but it has destroyed the area that black was mapping out. So this one might be an interesting way to play.
Okay.
And again, because you're so strong here, you can invade more directly than you might be able to if you had no strength on this side, because all of white's groups are pretty strong. So again, I think that, you know, black probably chose the wrong side by playing here. If black just protects its territory, I think black should be okay. But by invading here, you did, you know, there was a chance for white to invade now.
And so I invaded one move later.
Yeah, and I do think though that this stone at G17 is more useful than the stone at K14.
Okay.
Because now at least white has black has a base over here. Probably best to play a knight's move. If black pushes, then white jumps. You know, I think by playing here, you just allow yourself too many cuts. Sorry. You know, cutting point here, 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 here. It's going to be a brutal fight for you. You know, something like if something like this happens. Maybe black just plays here. It's going to be really tough for white to really make too much out of this shape. So just way too many cuts here. Be inclined. You're going to have to give something up, and so I'd probably be inclined to give up this one stone and break apart black's territory. And again, this is probably a better result than the one I showed before where you invaded directly. But you know, sorry, a better result for black than the one I showed before where you invade directly as white. But you know, I think that this stone is kind of, you have to give up something. You can't just get everything. And playing this kind of like weird net, it just leaves too many weaknesses for yourself.
Okay.
Yeah, here and here you're unrelenting. You know, you're trying to get everything. You're trying to live here. You're trying to attack the outside. You know, it's about exchanges. It's not about killing, right? So actually, I think black missed an opportunity here, or white missed an opportunity here to play like this. And so now you could have cut off these stones pretty nicely. So maybe the peep was incorrect timing. Maybe you have to, you know, play here or something like that, protect the weakness. But even playing here, it's not that problematic because you're still attacking these stones. It's still a good move. You know, white's probably still going to need to answer, and then you can come back and play your peep. You know, white's not gonna have time to come back and protect the weakness over here, right? So you can still get that peep later on. I know that Again, missed opportunity by white. You could have cut off the group by sacrificing this one stone. And it would be pretty tough for this black group to get eye space. So something like this might happen. And this is a nice way to use the strength of this group over here too.
Okay.
Yeah, so in this game, white was able to live here, but black got the much stronger position on the outside.
A common thing for me, I win the battle and lose the war.
Also, definitely much better just to take here. If black plays here, there's a pretty nasty cow, right? Whereas if white has any co threats on the board, let's just say something like this, and black tries to fight this co out, it can be pretty nasty for black. So black's not going to want to play this co anytime soon. Problem is, if you play at K18, this is Sente for black.
Yeah.
So much better just to play here, right? Like, think about this. If you play here and then black plays here, you get to Tanuki now. Even if black plays here later on, you can still live locally. So a little bit better of a shape just to take. And this is really helpful in the future, because a lot of times I'll see players come down like you did in the game, and most often it's going to be better just to take directly than to allow yourself another forcing move by your opponent.
Okay.
Probably better for black to attach on the outside rather than the inside. Why only capture one stone when you can capture two? And if white were to connect, then these stones would be captured, so there's no weakness either that black needs to be worrying about. So maybe a little bit of a slack move here.
And then I was a little bit worried about life, and
yeah,
I
I don't
probably shouldn't
think
have
you
been.
need to be. If black plays, let's say you play here, right? If black plays here, you can make life pretty easily by playing here, right? So the only move we need to be worrying about is this move here, right? And then if white plays here, black plays here, white plays here, you're able to capture the stone. There's no way for this eye to go away, so you'll be fine.
Okay.
So yeah, this move was a little bit slow because it's just a few extra points.
And G14 would have been more useful for me.
Yeah, something along those lines. Or, maybe I probably would do G13.
Okay.
Something along those lines, because this is a nice kind of like get to the top of the mountain point, because it's big for you because it expands your area over here, and if black gets it, it's big for black because it's expanding how much territory over here and how it's reducing your area over here. So this is very much like you want to get to the center point so that you have a more leverage to push the other person off.
Okay.
This is probably wrong direction. You're not going to be able to cut off this F12 stone. So I think if I were white in this position, I'd probably just protect my territory. I think that when you play here, you're basically saying, okay, we're going to fight now. But here's the problem. Black's a lot stronger than you.
Okay.
Right. So where are you going to make eyes? It's not quite clear. And are you able to cut off this white group? Not really. Or this black group? Not really, right? So I think before you come back and try to attack, you have to protect first. So fortunately for you, I think black gave you a chance instead of just jumping back out. Black gave you or coming down. Black gave you a chance to cut this group off. Okay. I see. But I mean, this cut's pretty dangerous, though, is it not?
I mean, ultimately, I did cut off those three at the top, but once again, it didn't.
I don't think it works, though. So if you play here, black and Atari connect, right? White extends. Black has to connect, right? You push, you extend, you push, you extend, you push, you capture, and then these stones go away. I'm not sure this is a particularly good result for white.
Yeah.
Because again, black's position in the center is still quite good too. And there's also endgame moves here as well. Like maybe there's not endgame moves. It's hard to tell. Maybe not. But either way, I think that you can exchange these stones over here for these stones over here, and be pretty happy. So I think that trying to cut might be a little bit premature for white. If white spends an extra move to play here, and then black plays elsewhere, then you can go ahead and cut. Oh, but it looks like black gave you the cut.
Yeah.
Which ends up being a really nice result for you because you just got an extra 10, 15 points here without having to do much. So at this point, I think the game's pretty okay for both sides. I mean, I would probably give an advantage to white actually, despite the difficult situation here, right? Like after white plays at P18, it seems like black should really have an easy game of it.
This, according to the AI, black had an advantage. There's an interesting point to me approaching move 118.
118. Okay, so let's jump to there.
There was a bunch of different stuff, and I played like M8, looking to try to like take away a lot of black's center.
Yeah.
And what ended up happening is the metric I used was the wrong one.
Okay.
You might say, I mean, the thing that keeps repeating in my ear is that you always reach out to your group you're trying to save rather than running out, so that if you're unsuccessful, you're from a position of stability. But in this case, basically those 4 stones in the L start on the H row in the middle. I was trying to save by connecting them out to the right.
Sure.
And I looked at move K9. I think it was one move later. Like I extended out on N right. And then I should have gone K9. And I think I could have then gotten out safely. But
What do you
I
mean?
connected out and then lost those stones.
You connected out and lost these.
See, I connected out, but then black.
Oh, and then yes. I see what you mean.
Then I lost that connection. And I think if I had earlier played K9.
K7 would have been better actually.
Okay, K7 then.
Because
then I
Sente.
still had the ability to run out in one of the safe directions.
Yep.
And which I think would have been better.
Oh, this would have been amazing for white. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was one of those things where in the heat of the game, I think we were already in, Byoyomi. At least one of us was. It was one of those things where I chose which side to approach on, and I chose the wrong one.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, actually making that exchange at Q7 and this is also just really helpful. There's always there's usually a defensive move and there's usually an offensive move. And if you can try to find one that does both, that's probably gonna be your best bet. And so being able to kind of just say, okay, well, I know I need a move here. Is there something I can do that'll let me both protect and Sente? And so finding these moves like K7 is gonna be really nice for you.
Right. And then even, after that, I think black could not keep my tail from connecting out to
no, definitely not. You cut through here, play through this. There's even if you cut this off, you'll still live over here.
Yeah. So and that would have changed the direction of the game.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, just thank you for that extra that
yeah, of course.
This K7. It was just that seemed to be I'll say the momentous point of failure.
Sure.
From that point on, I was just, oops.
Yeah, I think and this might be helpful for all the games today, but really just kind of remembering that influence is not used to get territory and influence should be used to attack, I think is really going to help. And so that's going to influence, like if you just have that kind of thought in the back of your head. That's
Okay.
going to influence the moves you're thinking about. So, you know, again, going back to this move at K14, not that it was a particularly terrible move by any stretch, but again, you're using your thickness to get territory, not to attack. And so, whereas if you attack, you know, you might not kill anything, but you can
Yeah.
take away something from your opponent too.
Yeah.
So I think just remembering that would be really helpful.